Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining to Wisdom Tips tonight. I am so glad that you're here to join me again here on Wisdom Tips. We have a wonderful topic we want to talk about tonight. And those that don't know me, this is Wisdom Tips with Dr. Connie Green. I'm here to draw pearls of true wisdom, giving you the tools that you would need to live a victorious life. And so today we're going to be talking about stress, wisdom to reverse stress. I don't know about you, but I've been through stress before. As a matter of fact, I'm a little stressed right now because we had some technical difficulties tonight. But I was determined to get on this Facebook and give you all some wisdom tips on tonight. So if you know someone that needs to hear this episode about stress, getting overwhelmed, about to throw in the towel and all that good stuff, this would be the broadcast for you. Okay. So again, my name is Dr. Connie Green. I'm here to drop pearls of true wisdom so you can have the tools you need to live a victorious life. Thanks again for joining another episode of Wisdom Tips, here where we dive in with wisdom tips and we give you the tools that you would need. And we're going to be talking about stress tonight. We're going to be talking about the journey of the science behind stress and how it affects our health. But through all of that, we found out in my research that although we have some stress, there's some good stress and there's some bad stress. So stress is not all the way always could be bad, because it can be used to help us when we are uh, in a circumstance or a situation that we feel like we're afraid. We're able to run. Sometimes people have supernatural strength when they get stressed and things happen. I've even seen articles where a baby was up under a car and a mother jumped up and picked the car up. Now, would she be able to do that again? Absolutely not. But it was the stress that she had that was so profound when she seen that fear and flight, as they call it, fear and flight, and she picked up that car. So it's not always bad. It can be good sometimes too. But also stress is a natural response of the body to perceive threats and demands. When we encounter, stress like what I just demonstrated, and even other stress, it makes our body to do a lot of things, psychologically and physical responses. It can happen that we can cope with the things that we're going through. So, like I said again, sometimes stress can be good for you or it can be bad for you. So, we're going to talk about both issues, good and bad. In small doses of stress, you can actually benefit from it, motivating you to take action and to perform. Have you ever had like a paper that you had to do, maybe in college, and you waited to the last minute and the professor said, okay, I know it was due by Thursday, but you're going to have this done by Wednesday. And then when you feel that kind of anxiousness or overwhelm, it'll move you to do something and do it quick. You'll go home because you don't want to flunk out of that particular course. So quite naturally, you're going to go back to the dorm and you're going to do all you can to get that paper written. Have you ever been there when you just got afraid about something that had to be done right then and there? Sometimes people do things like procrastinate to the very end, and then all of a sudden they have to do something, and then they're running to try to get it done. Have you ever been like that? I know I have. I don't know about you, but I've been there, done that, and got the T-shirt. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about what science actually says about all of this stuff. So give me a few minutes. I'm trying to find my notes, having a little difficulties right now, but I'm going to get to the part that I want to talk about. The part that I want to talk about is the psychological disorders and things that we can have when we go through the stress that we're going through, and it can cause all kind of crazy stuff. And that's what I really want to get to right now. The enemy's trying to stop me, but I'm going to keep on going, doing what we've got to do, talking about this stress. Okay, so when we under some stress, sometimes physically and psychologically, what I was trying to get to, it can cause threats in the brain, and it can release hormones that triggers our stress hormones like cortisone. You've heard people say like cortisone, people that have perhaps big stomachs and you're trying to lose weight and you wonder why you can't lose weight. A lot of times that could be stress. And your belly will get big no matter how much you exercise, what you do, how long how well you eating, and all of that. That cortisone will start coming, and that adrenaline gland will start activating. And in addition to that, the nervous system will start acting out. And then the adrenaline comes along, and then it causes your heart rate to go up. And also it causes blood pressure, and it causes you to have more energy. Have you ever got nervous and you just start shaking because you was in the middle of something, or somebody told you to do something that you didn't know how to do? You say, oh my God, I hope they don't call on me. You ever been like that? You ever been there before? I know I have many times, because even in church, I've been in church a long time, but if I go somewhere and visit another church, and I'm sometimes I get a little nervous because I say, they're gonna call me to come up and make comments, or they're gonna call me to introduce my husband, and it may be a church that I've never been to before, and I'm just sitting there trying to enjoy service, and all of a sudden I'm getting nervous, and oh God, they're getting ready to call me, and all of a sudden my heart starts to beating, and blood pressure start probably going up, elevated. Then I get a lot of pressure in my chest, and I get the energy when they call my name. All right, Dr. Green, we need you to come up here and introduce your husband. Then all of a sudden I'm able to do it. Bam, just like that. One moment I was just shaking, the next moment I was up and going. Okay, other things stress can do. Stress can cause us to have problems with sleep, and they call it sleep disorders. You can have problem with sleeping, and you can have insomnia. You can have poor quality of sleep, insufficient sleep, and your levels, of stress will interrupt your sleep, because all day long you was under stress. Now you're trying to go to bed, and you're just tossing and turning and trying to figure out what's going on, and you worried about every little thing that you've been experiencing in that day. So that's what stress can cause us to do too, lose sleep at night. Some people may even experience appetite loss, where you just been ripping and running and trying to take care of a project, or working on something on your job, or maybe something in your home that's been going on. And all of a sudden you're losing your appetite. Then you start losing weight, which could be good for some of us. But the problem is when stress really, really get devastating and really hard on our bodies, it can cause all kind of other elements that we're going to talk about. Elements like high blood pressure, elements like heart disease. It also can cause diseases and stuff in your body. It also can cause your digestive system to have issues. Yeah, your digestive system. I remember for years I had problems with my digestive issues. I mean, digestion in my stomach, and the issues that I was having is trying to eat food, but I couldn't process the food properly, and I couldn't eat meats and stuff. And even now, sometimes I can't eat a lot of meat. I eat maybe 90% vegetables most of the time, maybe 10% meat, because I'm still having problems with my digestive system. And I really believe it started when I was younger and I was working 12 and 13 hours a day, and just grinding, as they call it, grinding, trying to make a living, or trying to make enough money to do the things that I need to do to be successful. And sometimes that causes a lot of wear and tear on your body. As a matter of fact, I was running at one time so much and had so many jobs and so many things to do, till I actually end up in the hospital, and they couldn't find anything wrong until they kept doing testing, and they found out that I had some kidney issues. It's because I wasn't drinking water, wasn't taking care of myself. So stress can interrupt your digestive system, leaving your stomach with aches and pains, diarrhea, constipation, irritable bowel syndrome. You ever heard of that? And then when we go back to the sleep disorder, it can cause you also to have issues with your stomach, issues with your heart, and all those other things that we don't even think that something like that could happen just overnight. And another thing that stress can cause is mental illness. Mental illness it can be very chronic, because if your body is constantly in that stress mode, instead of that the mode where you're more calm and collective, then it can cause mental illnesses as well. And so you don't want to get to that far in that situation where it will cause you to start having not only heart problems, high blood pressure, and all of that, but some mental illness, especially when you have prolonged stress. Now, when you have just little stress, like we talked about when we first talked about getting stressed enough where you can do some things because you gotten upset, mad, frustrated, or that you something you feel like you're in danger where you can run or whatever. Little small pieces of stress like that, it comes and it goes, and it can be good for us because, like I said, it'll cause you to do the things that you need to be doing. Some of the things that you have, not done because you procrastinated. But on the other hand, when we have stress constantly, then it causes all kind of stuff. It weakens our immune system, and we cause diseases, and even have problems with wounds in your body. Being able to heal like it should. And so you really have to be careful with stress and realize that if you need some rest, get some rest. You can't do it. Sometimes you can't do things constantly over and over again and never getting some rest. I know when we were young, we could do it. And some of you young now, and you're probably doing it now, and you think, oh, I got this, I can do it. But eventually your heart and your mind and your spirit and your body will tell those telltale stories in your heart that you probably didn't even realize that you had. But all of a sudden your body will just totally shut down. Totally shut down. I've been there. I've done that. I got the T-shirt. I remember, like I just gave you the testimony where I just ran until one day my body just totally collapsed, and I ended up having to just cool out and stay out of work for a couple of months just to get my body back to where it needed to be. So it can also cause physical, psychological threats in the brain. The brain can release hormones that trigger and release stress hormones. And also, like we talked about cortisone in the belly, but it can also get into your brain and cause damage in your brain as well, in your nervous system and all of that type of stuff. So we want to be aware of stress. When you have stress, you can have good stress and bad stress, but when you find yourself constantly under stress, then it's time for you to slow down so you can get some sleep at night. You won't have sleep disruption. You can start back eating, not losing your appetite. Now, my personal experience, I told a little bit about me. So, even today, I was stressed out because we had some problems, with the what you call it, the computers and all this kind of stuff that I was trying to do, and having the technical difficulties where the computer wouldn't come on. I knew wisdom tips was coming on, and I was saying, "Oh God, what am I going to do?" So I just decided to calm myself down, take a deep breath, and say, "It is what it is." So now, I'm on my laptop talking to you guys, and then in the middle of that, my computer went out and my notes was just disappeared. But thank God I know a lot about stress because I've experienced stress. I've taught about it on several different occasions, did a lot of research, and I know how deadly it can be for your body. And even with my personal experiences over the years where I kept going, I had emotional trauma that was lurking in the background because when you under stress, sometimes you hold things down, you hold things back and you don't talk about it, you don't deal with it. So you can start having emotional trauma in your body is telling you you're not feeling good, you're having headaches, your back is hurting, your legs is aching, all of those type of things. Sometimes we think we're sick, but it could be simply that we're just stressed out and need a break. So, I'm just going to be honest with you. Just last week, I think it was. Was it last week? It was a few days ago. No, it was last week. I came home and I was just exhausted. Had with the church, and we had a wonderful time, and we had a lot of ripping and running to do. For about 2 months, I was just ripping and running, going out of town, going different places, doing different things, and it was some good things because, going to women's conferences and stuff like that. I love going to church services and conventions. I was just on the road, just going, and I guess it gave my body a chance to rest. And when I got back home I got back home from church that evening, I didn't really want to eat anything, but I tried to eat a little bit, and I went to bed. That Monday I got up. I was a little tired, but I kept going. Body telling me to sit down, then still didn't sit down. On Tuesday, I got up. Tuesday morning, got up for prayer. It was my time to pray. And when I got on there, I did the best I could, and I thought I did pretty good. Then I got a couple of phone calls, and people were saying, "Are you okay, Dr. Green? You didn't seem like you were okay on prayer." I said, "No, I was fine." And in my mind, I literally thought I was fine. And I kept telling them, I had about phone calls that day, that morning, early. They were really concerned about me. They said, "We could tell it wasn't you. Something is going on." And so I thought it was fine. So the next day, I literally could not get out of bed. I really literally on that Wednesday couldn't hardly even get out of bed. And so the Lord started sharing with me last week on stress, and I just kept running. So I felt like God just wanted me to talk to you guys about that. That you don't want to get to the point where you just totally crash and be overwhelmed and be forced to just act any kind of way. Sometimes you can act unseemly when you're stressed out and you're overwhelmed. You can bless people out. Old folks call it blessing people out, but you can say some harsh things to people when you're tired and you're overwhelmed. And I was doing some of those things, off and on, and didn't realize that maybe I'm just tired, maybe I'm just stressed. So I just kept going. So, dear hearts, I just want to encourage you to keep the faith, and you can get rid of some of the stress that you're going through, and you can actually reverse what you're going through according to all this stuff I'm talking about. I'm gonna give you some wisdom tips. What happened to me when after I got that rest, I got up and I've been feeling great the rest of this week. But if I had kept going, I'm pretty sure I still would have been grouchy, grumpy, flying off the handle, not wanting to do the things that I normally love to do. So I don't want you to be in that predicament. So I want you to keep on going, keep up your head, do the good works of the Lord, and do good things in your life as well as your body. When you feel your body is telling you to slow down, please do that, okay? Well, it's time for us to go to break, but when we come back, we're going to give you some wisdom tips. And after the break, we're going to give you some wisdom tips. And hopefully you will enjoy some of the wisdom tips that I'm going to share with you, and do some of those things that I had to do to help myself bounce back and be healed from stress. All right. Talk to you later.
CTR Media Network is now accepting new podcasters to join our growing network that's reaching 350 million global listeners. Have you heard? CTR Media Network offers podcast production, podcast training, distribution, and product placement. Book us for your next event or schedule an interview with CTR Media Network podcasters today. To learn more, go to ctrmedianetwork.com.
Well, welcome back, you guys. Thank you so much for being patient with me because it's been not, as easy as you think it is with me going on with wisdom tips this evening and after all the stuff that happened to me before the broadcast. But I'm so proud of myself. I made it. I could have gave up and said, well, I'm not going to do wisdom tips tonight. I can't do it the way I normally do it. The picture's not going to be the way I want it to be. The lighting is not going to be what I want it to be. But sometimes in life, things are not going to be perfect. It's not going to be always the way you want it. And unfortunately, this episode is not going the way I want it to go, but hopefully it's going to bless somebody. Usually when things like this happen, God's got you doing it for a reason. And when it seems like all hell is breaking loose, sometimes that's when people get blessed the most because they get to see your vulnerability, that you're not perfect. And that's why I shared my story on what happened to me last week. It was because I was stressed out and I kept going and I wouldn't stop and my body just totally shut down. So I don't want that to happen to you. So those of you that are just tuning in to this episode, please share this broadcast with somebody. We have been talking about having wisdom to reverse strength by the power of this awesome wisdom that God has given us. And we all can get it. All we have to do is ask God for it, and He would give us wisdom. So with me, when I go through stuff and I have come on wisdom tips, a lot of times the things that I'm teaching you guys on, I've been through some stuff myself, so I can talk to you about it and I can let you know how God transformed my life in certain areas. So let wisdom transform your life and let it reverse the stress that you're feeling in your life and do some great things just for yourself. Dear hearts, please listen to me very careful. Stress can affect your health in many, many ways. I talked about it when I first came on, and I'm going to talk about it again for those of you that did not hear. Stress can cause us to have a weakened immune system. It can cause us to have diseases and infections and illnesses in our body. You don't want to go there. If you're stressed out, get you some rest, take you a vacation, take a break from your job, whatever you need to do. It's worth it because you don't want to mess around and have heart problems, high blood pressure, and even a stroke. Also, prolonged stress causes mental illnesses. Chronic stress is associated with increased risk of mental illness. Can you believe that? Things like anxiety disorder, depression. You can be burnt out, and that can cause the disorder just from being stressed out. Stress can affect your neurological levels in your brain, and it can disrupt the mood that you're in, and it can regulate other unhealthy things in your body. That's what was happening to me the last couple of weeks. I had just been short fused. Everything was getting on my nerves. I mean, things that I used to like, I didn't want to do anymore. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I just thought the devil was in me. I just prayed and said, God, pray for me because I got a bad attitude. And I don't even know why. But the fact of the matter was, I was just stressed out. Then I started having some digestive problems, which I had a long time ago and had got through with it, I thought. But all of a sudden, my stomach started back hurting because I was under stress, a lot of stress. And it led to my stomach to start her back hurting. Then I started getting acne all over my face. And that was one of the signs when I'm stressed out. My body will break out in my face. Constipation. Have you ever had that? Yeah, I've had that too when I'm stressed out and other disorders. And then sleeping will really can stop you when you stressed out from getting a good night's sleep. So turn off that TV, turn off the cell phones, turn the lights down, and get you some rest. Put on some soft music, maybe some candles, something that you can breathe in, or some essential oils. I like to put essential oils and let them just be in the air and all through the air, and just smelling the room with the aroma of God's precious what I call it, flowers, as I call them, because most essential oils are nothing but flowers and things that God has created. So I just love smelling those fragrances. But it can cause you to stop, your sleep patterns, and you can have poor quality of sleep. Okay, so I'm gonna talk to you about the wisdom tips. We're getting ready to give you the wisdom tips now, and we're gonna close out. And thank you for spending this time with me and putting up with me while I'm fumbling over some of this stuff. But I'm getting it out. I hope you're enjoying it. Tip number one: develop effective develop effective stress management techniques. In other words, start finding what's best for you to calm your spirit down when you're overwhelmed. The number one thing I said I think you need to do is number one is get some rest. But have an effective stress management techniques just for you, designed just for you. Wisdom tips number two: exercise. Have regularly. I mean, it really helps. The exercise. If you're doing nothing but walking, get out of your house, walk around. You don't have to go to a gym and spend a whole lot of money. Exercise in your home. Do some things. Move that body, and you'll be surprised how much better your brain gonna feel. Tip number two. Three, devotion and prayer techniques. Continue to have a prayer life. Continue to read your scriptures and have devotional time with God. All right. Tip number four, practice relaxation. Like deep breathing techniques. Sometimes when I get upset or mad, I used to get upset and mad, as I call it, but angry. It's not really mad, but it's called anger. I usually get angry and upset when I'm just overwhelmed and stressed out. And so that's one of the telltale signs. We taught on anger for the last couple of weeks in the wisdom tips. You can go back and check it out, those of you who haven't. But a lot of that anger stuff comes from stress. So now I've learned, if I get angry with something, I just take a deep breath and just start breathing, blowing in and blowing out. And that really, really helps. Tip number five, maintain a balanced diet. Get rid of the sugar, the pork, the beef, all the stuff that's making you heavy and feeling bad and lethargic. A lot of the times it could just be food that you're eating, too much sweets, canned goods, and all of this that we're eating, got a lot of salt in it. So, and a lot of bread and stuff can bloat your stomach up. Now, I love bread, and I'm not going to stop eating it, even no matter what diet I got going. I'm going to eat me some bread because that's just what I like. Most people eat cakes and stuff. I like my bread. So just leave me alone. That's my business. But I don't eat a whole loaf of bread. I may eat a half a slice of bread in the morning with a piece of egg on it. But I know if I start eating too much bread, I can't stop because I'm really addicted to the bread. I think it was in my family. We ate bread every time we sit down to eat, and it was just a bread thing in my family. So I had to really break that curse. So I don't eat as much bread as I used to, but if I want me a piece of bread when I go out to eat, I'm going to get me a piece of bread and I'm fine. I may not eat that cake. Why? Because I had the bread. Bread turns into what? Sugar. So be careful how much bread you do eat if you just like me, okay? Tip number six, get adequate sleep. I think we talked enough about that. That's very important. Tip number seven, seek social support. Seek friends. Bible said that he that wants a friend must find himself friendly, right? Join a group, a women's group. I'm a part of a great women's group called eWomen Network. If you're interested in it, just email me or text me or whatever, and I give you the information. It's a powerful group of women where we come together once or twice a month, and we help each other with their entrepreneurship efforts. Amen. All right. Tip number eight, engage in some kind of hobby. Sometimes I think when we grow up, we forget about hobbies. We just get so serious, don't want to play no more and do things like you used to do. Find you a good hobby, something that you enjoy, and get it done. Tip number nine, management skills are very, very important. Adopt some time management skills and organize your life. Write stuff down before you go to bed at night. If you got a full day on tomorrow, find out what you got to do. You can't keep everything in your head. No, ma'am, you can't. So write it down so you'll get some stuff done and don't procrastinate. All right. Well, that's it for this evening. Thank you so much for joining in to Wisdom Tips and putting up with Dr. Green after all the stuff she's been going to. You can even look at my hair and tell that I've been sweating. Glory be to God. But I hope you enjoyed. And remember, we ain't got no time for tears and fears. That's why I got on Wisdom Tips. I ain't have no time for no tears and fears because I promise I'll be on here on Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I was. We ain't got no time for tears and fears. Why? Because what? Because what? About what we talk about every night when we go out? Wisdom is the what? Principal thing, and all that get a what? Understanding. So what? You can live a victors, like dry those tears, lift your head up, all you gates, and be ye ever lifted up, you everlasting doors, and let the King of glory come in. Love you guys. See you next week. Goodbye.